to the Drew Sutton Leadership Show, lighting the way with real leaders, real stories, and real impacts. Because when leaders stop growing, the darkness wins. All right, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. Today, we're going to be answering the question, why are most professionals working the room when the real opportunity is building a circle that actually moves the needle? To answer that question, we have Daniel Andrews. Daniel is a relationship strategist helping professionals turn everyday conversations into real opportunities. He challenges the outdated idea of networking and shows leaders how to build intentional circles that create trust, influence, and long-term success. If you think that just showing up is enough, well, Daniel's here to prove you wrong. But don't worry, we're about to get into it. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hey. There's the studio audience, right? Filmed in
There's
front
the
of a
studio
live
audience. That's right. Applause.
That's it.
I need to get like different laughs and stuff.
Both of us look so good in our suits in that that still, and then it cuts to I'm like, oh, I don't look nearly as good.
That's I've had some guests that clearly dyed their hair in their photo. I'll leave it phrased that way, but what shows up is not the same color hair as what was. Well, listen, the reason I'm excited to have Daniel on the show, Daniel has added a lot of value to my life personally. We've been friends for a long time now, multiple years now.
Yeah.
And you've watched my journey. I've gotten to watch your journey. And I got to say, you are an operational relationist, if you will. Like, you understand the mechanisms behind relationships and how to think through things, both conversations and scenarios, how to set up and be what comes across as a great host, but there's a lot of science that lays underneath it, which gets me super excited as an engineer. So super glad to have you on the show. We're going to be talking classic network mistakes. But before we get to that, how did you get here? What was your background before you started mastering the networking circle?
Great question. This is career number 4. They have all been under the rubric of self-employment. So I tell people I've been officially self-employed for 38 years, 51 if you start with the lemonade stand in first grade. So,
oh, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So now you know how old I am, if you can do math. But they've all been sales-related roles, and usually as an affiliate or a 1099 with someone else's brand name. So I had corporate structures, but the freedom to kind of work my own schedule. So this is really the last 10 years where I've really been doing kind of my own thing. Is a little bit different. And what's fun about that, is the awareness, the journey that I took towards understanding the difference between a lead or a referral versus an introduction or an endorsement. And
oh yeah. This is good.
Yeah, there's a pretty big difference. And probably somewhere over the course of this, I will tell, as the kids these days say, the origin story. But the moment where I went, maybe I need to make a change.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll probably use it to illustrate a certain point. But yeah, unless you think I ought to start with that. But it's
well, so you've opened up a really interesting conversation, which is there's a difference between a lead and an introduction. And then there's the kind of like before that step in the sales cycle, there's prospecting. Now I think that when we get young folks in the room and we're like, hey, listen, you're going to be my sales guy. At some point we're like, it's just a numbers game. I just need you to knock on doors, make calls, smile and dial, send out postcards, 100 points of marketing a day, whatever it's just a numbers game. How do you talk to me about it's just a numbers game?
Well, yeah, I think all of it is a percentage, meaning if your close rate is exceptionally high, you're missing some opportunities.
Oh, I actually really like that.
Now, having said that, if your calendar is full and you don't feel you can raise your rates, then maybe a high close rate is fine. But I don't want people to mistake, activity for results, right? And I don't want people to make the mistake of thinking that building your network correctly is a subset of marketing. Networking, the way most people practice it, is a subset of marketing. And it's a long, slow, expensive, and calorie-laden way to do it if you're doing any in-person networking, right? You can put on the pounds, man, if you're not careful, right? Because they all have alcohol and hors d'oeuvres, And I'm like, oh my God. I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
walk around right with a glass of cranberry juice and club soda, right? Because I don't need the calories, that comes from everything else. But I do believe that as you understand the value of your time, and as you get better results, and as you have the background and the proof and the testimonials and the case studies and the reviews to back up your results, it makes more sense to really start to view a trusted network as a predominant or even primary source, and in some cases exclusive source of strategic business development, because names are easy, right? I mean, you're old enough, Drew, to remember when they used to throw a book with the name of everybody in the town on your doorstep once a year. And every business in your town was in there. And some businesses paid extra to be listed twice in that book. Names are easy, right? How many people will sell you a service where they will do lead gen or, capture, contact information for your ideal client? And all of those involve outreach to somebody that didn't really want to hear from you and wasn't expecting to.
Yeah, and so the answer to that, I think, today is the get used to rejection. And I think building up kind of some calluses on your dialing finger and on your ear to be able to hear the rejection, I think that is important. But I think a lot of times people just point at the rejection as an excuse to not properly, as you said, just grab some names off of a list and not properly qualify or articulate what your folks are looking for.
Well, I do think you have to get comfortable with the fact that you're not going to close everybody, right? It's
Yeah.
okay, right? Be tied to the activity, not to the result, right? But I do think that enough rejection will make people go, there's got to be a smoother way. Now, a lot of it depends on what kind of space you're in. My wife, for example, has a smartphone app word game, a puzzle game, Cattywampus. So here's my opportunity to pitch that, right? Cattywampus, just CATTYWAMPUS, good old Southern word for those people up north that don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But that's clearly a marketing driven exercise, right? She goes on podcasts, she goes on stages, she speaks to groups. She did Facebook ads and stuff like that, getting the word out on the game, right? And that's clearly a marketing effort, right? Given that one client is worth a few pennies, one game player, excuse me, not even a client, that's the wrong word. One game player is worth a few pennies a month to her. Building your network correctly has got nothing to do with it. Now, building her network correctly in terms of finding spaces and places where she can get in front of a large group, sure. Building her network correctly to find strategic partners and investors, sure. That makes a lot of sense. But for a lot of people, if they're in a business to business offer or a fairly niche specialty, a small trusted network can go a lot further. And kind of the other end of the spectrum works well too. Real estate, insurance, mortgage lending, financial services. If there's one on every corner, you could hardly call those positions niche. But if there's one on every corner, you're not really, or you shouldn't really be competing for customers with the other people in your industry. You should be competing for those key referral partners. Who are the trusted individuals that are adjacent to you?
Yes. All right. So I want to talk about this. My argument is I was taught marketing in the intellectual sense. You got to have your top of funnel, you have your middle of funnel nurturing campaigns, you have your qualifications, and you have your close, right? And so I came in it, I thought that human relationships, B2B human relationships, were kind of the same way. Like when I'm in a networking event, that's the top of funnel, then I have the middle funnel, then I have the close. There are some elements of truth in that, but that is all taught. That's the digital marketing strategy. You are doing a digital funnel. And what I've discovered over the last probably 3 years is it's much more about you showed up in the same room multiple times. And then there's kind of like your peers and your friends that are in the networking circles. They're like, oh, what does he do? Like the first time you see a new person in a network circle, the question is, I wonder how long he's going to last. Shows up the second one, shows up the third one. You're like, oh, all right, this person's in it for real. Okay. What was his name again? And then, oh, I like this person. There's this moment that happens in all relationships where you say, what was it you do again? Because I had you written down as a marketer, which is just like a category. But like, no, what do you really do? And that moment is bought over, I think it's 3 events. You touch base in 3 separate events where you're not trying to grab a hold of my wallet. And eventually I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to know what you're up to. Because I want to introduce you to somebody. And I want to make sure that you make you fit. So talk to me your experience between funnels and rooms.
Sure. That's a really good question. And I think, and I appreciate the distinction that you made there. And if you're, for those of you that want to use the word marketing to refer to all forms of biz dev, that's a misuse of the word. But okay, if that's how you want to define it, right? Let's make sure we're talking about the same thing, right? Because in my world, building your network correctly and your marketing efforts only share one point in common. The only thing they share in common is that they are about revenue enhancement, right? The point is to put more dollars into the system. And I think that there is some value, or you can find value, I should say, in attending open events. And there is a process by which you can slowly build awareness. I think trust, by the way, is only built one-on-one. I don't think showing up over and over again says anything other than you're consistent, which is helpful, right? Maybe you're the funny guy in the room. I think you can lose trust in a group environment. You can say something sexist or racist or political or just stupid, right? I think you can maintain trust in a group environment, i.e. you've built trust with somebody. Good example, Mike and I show up used to show up at a lot of the same events together. And normally we speak warmly to each other, but I was caught in a conversation with 3 or 4 people as Mike was leaving because apparently he had an appointment or somewhere else he needed to go. And he made eye contact with me and he just, and I nodded back.
Right.
Which maintains trust. Had I ignored him, I would have lost trust. Right. But I could at least maintain it by acknowledging his presence and that he saw me and I saw him. But you're not adding to the trust factor in a group environment. I think a lot of that comes down to, meeting with people one-on-one, which can lead people to a conclusion that I will debunk very rapidly, which is not everybody that wants to get on your calendar belongs on your calendar, right? A one-to-one, a coffee meeting, a virtual coffee, probably a waste of your time.
Yeah.
So that's one of the contrarian things that I say.
Sorry. So not everybody that makes it on your calendar deserves a spot on your calendar. So how do you start deciding who gets a spot on your calendar?
Okay. Great question. The categories are really fairly straightforward. An ideal client profile, a key referral partner, and I can blow that concept up a little bit, or a potential key referral partner. And Adam Grant says in his book, Give and Take, the first chapter, he's got some pretty interesting information there. But so many times I hear people go, I just, give and give and give, right? And, and the laws of the universe says it'll all come back to me. The laws of the universe don't say that, right? Karma is not a thing. Doesn't really exist, right? Doesn't really exist. You can give wrong. Some of the if you had to sort people, so going back to Adam Grant's Give and Take, if you sorted people by their networking styles, by observing or talking to their peers, you can sort them into givers, people that believe they should offer more to the universe than they take, takers, people that believe in every interaction they're trying to come away the winner, and matchers. And I don't mean introducers. I mean people are looking for a kind of reciprocal energy, right? They try to keep it even. Well, at the highest levels of success over 20 or 30, 40 years, it's no surprise to learn that you will find more givers than takers and matchers. But at the lowest levels of success, you also find more givers than takers or matchers.
Oh man, that's powerful.
It is.
At the highest level, you have the more givers, and at the lowest level, you have the more givers.
Takers and matchers clump in the middle because you can give wrong. You can spend your time in front of the wrong people. Right. And two examples, one with success, one without, but there's still examples I want to talk about. Gentleman that I was speaking to several months ago was 10 and a half months into a B2B franchise. So he'd invested a lot of money to sell a system. He had one client that was a friend of his, Power Your Network, and 400 get to know you meetings.
Right.
400. And in 400 get to know you meetings, he had received 0 referrals.
Right.
And I'm like, so I'm trying to keep a straight face, right? Because knowing the work I do. And I'm like, how many more are you going to do before you decide to stop doing them or to approach them differently? And he goes, well, you never know if they've got leads for you until you meet with them. And I'm like, but you can play the percentages, right? You,
Yeah.
you do kind of know in advance. And I'll talk about that in a minute in the context of Key Referral Partner. Was at an event recently, a live event where I was one of the speakers. The particular structure that I was invited to speak in was breakout structure, but they had 8 table topics posted,
Mhm.
speaker, table number, right, topic. And then between plenary speakers, people just came over to the table if they wanted to hear what you had to say. So somebody that I know and trust and has got a successful business and would consider herself a great networker, and again, air quotes around the verb form, came and sat at my table. And I'm like, well, this is fascinating. Maybe she feels like she's got something to learn. So I gave my little 30-minute, kind of structure, the outline of what I was supposed to cover. And then she said, well, I'll just take a coffee meeting with anybody because, one time I met somebody and they turned into, and they knew somebody and it turned into a deal. So it was worth it. And then she turned to talk to somebody else, which was fine because my 30 minutes was up and the table was just waiting to see how I was going to respond to that. And I said, I really wonder how many deals she missed by spending that much time with people that weren't prepared to give her lots of business. So that really kind of takes me to the notion of a key referral partner. There are people in the world that are positioned to send business your way. If you're a mortgage lender, it's a real estate agent. If you're financial services, it's an insurance agent. If you're a moving company, it's a divorce attorney, right? If you're a salary negotiation coach, it's a resume writing coach. If you're a print shop, it's a graphic designer, right? And the billboard company and the web designer, right? Those people all belong in pods and pairs together. There are people that are adjacent to the work that you do, right?
Mm.
Bookkeeper, payroll company, benefits company, right? Voluntary benefits company, core benefits company. Those people are prepared to let other people leverage the relationships they have with clients through the relationship they have. And people will take a coffee meeting with anybody instead of, okay, well, that's just marketing, and that's marketing by hand.
Right. No,
And
so
that's
I
going
wanna
to take
pull
you a while.
so I want to pull a thread on this really quickly.
Sure.
My favorite illustration you use is the divorce attorney and the realtor, or the divorce
Attorney in the moving company.
and the moving company. Because yes, you can meet people that will send you some business. Sure, that's true. And if you have a high enough ticket price, maybe that makes sense. But there is kind of a known future. Peter Drucker says this. The only thing we know about the future is that it's not going to be like today, or that we don't know what the future is going to be like. That's the only thing we really know
Right.
about the future. But there are certain things that will happen later, and that one is, I think, the most popular one today is the baby boomer, the silver tsunami. So this is kind of the area that I'm in these days, is looking for baby boomer businesses, people that are 55 years of age or older, that are going to be retiring in the next decade, and they want to get the most for their business, right? I'm looking for those businesses. I'm looking to buy those businesses. In some cases, coach, but looking to buy. So the future, I know that in 5 years, there's a certain demographic of people that are going to need my service, but that's a long-term future. There are trigger point futures. So you're getting a divorce, somebody's moving, maybe 2 people are moving, because when you split that household up, you may get 2 houses out of that. How do you help people think through who their ideal referral partner is?
Well, there's and you might need to, anyway, I'll put something in the private chat that you can repost, because apparently I'm not able to broadcast, but I want to give people a better access to me. 15 minutes is not enough if you've got questions, by the way. I will answer your question, but I will get a link into the chat somewhere. My gift to whoever's listening, because of Drew's, my experience with Drew, a network building business plan where I will actually help you around this exact conversation. So actually the timing works pretty good. But who is your key referral partner or your potential key referral partner? But the fastest way to ask that is, who else, what's going on in their life, right? If you're a real estate agent, okay, there's a move afoot. Well, that takes you to the moving company. That takes you to home repairs. That takes you to, right? They may need to buy a home in another state. Well, I'm a real estate agent in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm not, but say I was, and they're moving to Dallas. I might not can refer them to somebody in Dallas. Maybe I can, but I can refer them to a mortgage lender that I know locally who can do business across state lines, right? Because you don't need local market knowledge to do a good mortgage deal. So the one question to ask is, what are they actually trying to accomplish, right? My friend runs a venue, an event venue, a nice party space. Somebody calls and says, I need your space on December 12th from, noon to 8 p.m. Is it available? He goes, yes. Give me your card, send me a check, you can have it. And he hangs up. Are they done? Is that the only call they need to make to have that party? No. There's a caterer, right? There's promotions. If it's a wedding, it's, they're doing formal invitations, right? The old school way. If it's a DJ or a band, right? Flowers. So many things knock on from that. So part of it is what's the bigger picture? When they come to me to solve a thing, I'm solving my part of the thing, but what's the bigger thing they're trying to solve? That's one way to ask it. Another is who comes before me and who comes after me. I have a friend who's a top-notch tax CPA. She's very well-versed and she does high-level stuff. If you come to her with a literal or figurative box of receipts, you know what she's going to say? Oh, no. No.
This is Andrea.
No.
Get that bookkeeping done first.
The bookkeeper down the hall will take care of you. And then you can come back to me. Right. So she's in a position to refer the bookkeeper, but the bookkeeper's in a position to refer her. Hey, I've done your books, but I don't do tax returns. I don't do strategy.
Right.
That's Holly. Right. Holly is actually a 50% owner of a payroll company, also located down the hall, literally down the hall, because so much of her work involved referring people to a payroll company and vice versa. Right? Yeah. So who comes before you, who comes after you?
So when you're asking these questions, what I like about this is you're at a networking meeting and you meet, sorry, realtors, this happens to me a lot. You're at a networking event, there's lots of realtors and there's lots of insurance salesmen and there's lots of financial advisors. Sure. So I have lots of you all as friends, like all of you all are friends.
Yep.
And you each ask me, because I have business, like I coach businesses, so I own business owners, and that's somebody you would like to meet. You're like, hey, can you give me a referral? And there's kind of like this clench in my stomach of like, I don't know who to give this one to. And I like all of you and you guys can all do a great job for them. So like there's this kind of a negative pit in my stomach, a little bit of anxiety when it comes to the referral. However, when there's a really clean line of this is somebody that does work right before me, this is somebody that does work right after me or adjacent to me. I don't do bookkeeping, but I love it when I meet bookkeepers because I'm like, oh, my clients generally need bookkeepers. Like basically like on month 4, I know that they need a bookkeeper and I would love to refer you some work. Tax prep or a controller. So I help folks double their business, right? That's what I do. One of the steps in there is getting a fractional CFO or a controller that can help them really understand their numbers. That one's generally like at 8 months in for me. But it's super, when I meet one of the people that is an ideal partner for me, it's not even just like, oh, let's have coffee and let me figure out who I can help you with. I'm like, oh, I got 6 people I like to refer you to. Like there's this excitement that comes because I can do my clients right while doing you well, right? Like
there you go.
That's exciting. As opposed to I teach martial arts. Do you know anybody's kid? Refer to me somebody that should be my martial arts. I'm like, it's weird. I don't have anybody that does that. Like maybe I know somebody that might be.
And nobody views you as the expert on that.
Right. Nobody's going to ask me who they should go learn.
Right. And even if you did, you're like, hey, I see your kid's, getting bullied at school. He ought to sign up for martial arts course. Well, have you ever taken anything from the guy? No, but he gave me his card and man, he was really nice. He brought me around at the bar at the happy hour. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, people will ask for referral way too early. And this is what something that I think a lot of people miss. And I'll be very brief here because if anybody wants more information, literally get into a network building business plan with me. It's a gift, me to you. There is no sales pitch baked into there, by the way. It's 25 minutes of my time as a gift to y'all, and I will dissect this for you. But people miss the fact that, if they meet you and try to prospect you, then they were never networking to start with. They were speed prospecting, right? If they meet you and ask you to refer business, they were.
I want you to repeat that again. This is like a key thing.
Sure.
All right. So
if they meet you and treat you like a prospect, they were never about the relationship to start with. They were never, that's called selling in a social milieu, right? I'm like, networking is not you pitching me while we both have a beer in our hands. That's not networking. That's speed prospecting, right? Okay. So very briefly, because I will dig into this for the network building business plan. And I think Drew copied that in the chat. So hopefully you guys can find it now and later. To get someone to be your client takes a certain degree of trust, meaning for those of us in the world that collect a check or get a contract signed before the results come in. I mean, we're not selling something across the counter, right? You give me your dollars, you leave with your widget, right?
Right.
There's trust involved, and that's fine. We all know how to take somebody that's never heard of us or never met us or stumbled into us because they Googled our name on the internet and turn that into trust and get the deal. We know how to do that. To get referred to a prospect takes a higher degree of trust, because if I engage you, Drew, and I get results, I'm like, kind of blame you, kind of blame me, moving on. But if I refer Susie to you to invest in you and she doesn't get the results she wants, number one, first person she's going to call is who?
You.
Me. Before she complains to you, she's going to complain to me.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to figure out, did I do it wrong? Did I engage with Drew incorrectly? Right? Who's at fault here that I'm not getting my money's worth? And if I have character at all, and I don't mean highest character, I just mean not a psychopath, sociopath, or a politician.
Bare minimum.
But I repeat myself, as Mark Twain said, right? Then I'm more worried about the fact that she invested her money and didn't get the results than I would be if I invested my money and didn't get the results, right? And so it's a higher claim. And so when people are immediately asking for referrals, that tells me they think it's all about the messaging. If enough people find out what they do, somebody will hire them. Okay, that's a marketing plan. And doing that one person at a time or one event at a time is long, slow, expensive, and calorie heavy, right? You really got to, you really need a better model.
Right. And I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but the truth is, if I've met you with one or two meetings, and I'm immediately expecting you to send me some folks my way, it's pretty predatory. I'm asking you
it's very
to send me your clients who let's say you have to meet 10 people to get a client. It's probably more like 100, but let's say it's 10. You have to meet 10 people and then you have to do work for them. And now they trust you. So you've spent a lot of time building that trust. And then because we had beer together 1 or 2 nights for an hour and a half, I'm expecting you to pass that person's wallet over to me. I kind of had this moment probably about 6 months into what I'm doing now, where I realized I was asking people to pass their clients' wallets to me. And I was like, that's not really an appropriate, or honest way to go about it, because they don't know what type of job I'm going to do. I'm here with Daniel. Daniel knows Sally. Daniel hasn't used my service yet. He doesn't know what it's like. And now I'm asking Daniel to pass Sally to me. And then I'm kind of getting frustrated because nobody's passing Sally to me.
Well, partly, but keep in mind that we do know how to build credibility, referability, right? Credibility, reliability, likability. We know how to become referable in the minds of our customers. But going back to the example you used, right? That when you've engaged a client over months or years, that there's certain benchmarks you're like, okay, this is enough of a mess. We need to send somebody in. You may never have used that bookkeeper. You've probably referred 3 or 4 different bookkeepers. You haven't used each one of them. You might never have used any of them, but you do know, because of their credibility, reliability, and likability, and the results they've gotten for the people you have referred them to, that they can get the job done. So the first is to not be concerned that the only people that can refer you are customers. You can become referable in someone else's mind without them being a customer. Being a customer is one way to bridge that quickly. But this is where a lot of people lose the thread. And this is amazing to me, the degree to which I have to repeat this, even to myself. I don't go to open networking events, even though I know for a fact my prospects are there. If you're at an open networking event, you are my prospect, because it means you haven't figured out how to build your circle and never go to another networking event again, right? And I don't go because even though they are my prospects, my ideal client profiles, nobody has a prospect until they say they are. Now, having said that, they might eventually, but when they're at a networking event, what mode are they in? Are they browsing for things to buy?
No,
they're in speed prospecting mode. They're in marketing by hand mode.
Yeah.
Right. it's not like the home and garden show or even the state fair where you wander in with a wallet full of cash going, I don't know what I'm buying today, but the likelihood I'm buying something. These people, they're busy trying to sell, and they are therefore resistant to any, awareness that they might need to be the prospect. Okay. So that's part of the reason I don't do it. But here's the other thing, right? And I'll tell this story very briefly. I'll leave his last name out. Man named Jonathan, about a year or two into a financial services sort of industry, got about 20 or 30 peers, good company, right? Tight little boutique, but new to him, right? He hasn't any job before that involved sales effort. And so I engaged with him around a network building business plan, right? And we're identifying his key referral partners. And I said, who do you suppose they are? I could tell him who they are, but it always, sounds better when it comes out of his mouth. And he goes, I would imagine CPAs are good for me. And I said, that is correct. When you're out networking, building your network, you need to ask to be introduced to CPAs. He goes, I can do better than that. I belong to an international networking group. There's a directory online of 600 of those. And I said, whoa. I said, you didn't hear me. I didn't say go find CPAs. I said, ask to get introduced. Now, let's look at the extremes. If he does it his way, if they're on a directory of 600, because that's how many chapters there are in North America for this group, do they know they're on a list of 600? Yes.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Which means probably 300, because there's probably 600 Jonathans too, right?
Right.
Okay. Because there's one on every corner. Probably 200 or 300 of which have called all 600 of these CPAs and said, you should send business my way. So if you call them out of the blue, you're actually starting at less than zero, because most of those people didn't last very long in financial services to start with, or didn't do anything to make themselves stand out and become referable, right? I said, so you're actually starting behind the curve to call people off a list. But even if you meet a CPA, you still are starting at zero, where you have to build the trust, which you can. It can be done, but it takes a while. But if you're introduced to a CPA, right?
Yeah.
You just said, that part the way in to your engagement with your clients, right? That you generally refer a tax specialist, right? And a few other roles, right? And I'm over here going, you should be sending people to Holly. Now, I'm sure you've got one in your world. That's fine. You could and should. But I know that if I said to you, Holly's good at her job, and I can vouch for that, you should consider sending business her way. You would at least consider referring business to Holly. You would take a call with Holly and find out which client she does and doesn't want, so that you could potentially send business her way. Not because it's a name on a list, because you believe in me. Trust is what we're after. We're not after names. Names are easy and therefore worthless. Trust is the key component.
I love it. So we're kind of running out of time of the show. I want to pull one thread, and then I want to turn the open mic over to you. But you say this sentence, and I've literally shared this with almost every client I've ever had at some point. The sentence is, "Hey, you would be great for Greg. Let me walk you into Greg's office and make an introduction for the two of you." Mm-hmm. And that sentence is so interesting because there's a number of things in it. So walk me through that sentence, and because I think this is the key. For me, it was the unlock when you walked me through this sentence, because it's an easy sentence to remember. It's kind of the dream sentence we've all had. Hey, let me take you over to Greg. Let me walk you into his office and introduce the two of you. Why is that sentence so powerful?
Okay, thank you. And to give people context around that, it's the notion that when I get introduced to people that are described as fully networked or highly networked, or the guy or the gal that knows everybody in this town, blah, 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 I always have to be walked into their office. And in that half a sentence, there are two critical components. I have to be walked in. You cannot cold call your way into the presence of somebody that understands the value of their time.
Yes.
Right? They know they need to be talking to ideal client profiles, key referral partners, or potential key referral partners. And that's it. And I reached a point about a year ago where it's ideal client profiles and my key referral partners, meaning if you get on a get to know you call with me and you don't identify yourself as a prospect, or that you can introduce me to a prospect, but you want to introduce me to a key referral partner, I'll pass on that. I have plenty of people give me leads on a daily basis, right? Plenty. So I either need an introduction to a referral, introduction to a prospect, or we're going to let it go, right? And I'm okay with that. But anyway, you got to be walked in to their office. They are not at the chamber meeting. They're not in the networking group. They're not at the happy hour. They're not in the country, probably not even the country club, because they've already built their network and their network takes care of them. And
Yeah.
the fastest way to get the trust of a key referral partner is to be introduced to them by somebody that they trust. I have used people that know me well to put me on the calendars of people that I only kind of sort of know. Because John trusts Mike and Mike trusts me. I know I'm not high on John's priority list. You know how I know? I sent him a happy birthday message. It took him 4 days to reply.
Right.
Which means he'd
Right.
given his phone to his assistant and she was handling every, thank you for the well wishes for everybody he hadn't replied to immediately. Right. Which is fine. I've known John 20 years, but it's fine. He doesn't have to keep me at the top of his list. I was never at the top of his list. He was a heavy hitter when I was a journeyman at the company back in the day. Right. I was just slugging it out and he was setting records. But I'm tight with Mike because I mentored Mike when he was new. Mike and John continued to live and work in the same city. They each sold their houses and moved into the same neighborhood because John and Mike are best friends. Their wives are best friends. Their kids are best friends. They moved next door to each other on purpose. So I'm going to use the cred I have with Mike to get to John, even though I know John, because I'm not interested in names. I'm interested in trust.
Yes.
And that's such a huge thing.
Well, and this is what I'm so excited about AI. A lot of people are naysayers of AI. Other people are, worshipers of AI, if you will. What makes me so excited about AI is it is so good at marketing. As we develop our defenses against it, we're going to stop falling for marketing. Like I don't answer phone calls anymore. If it's not a number that I've personally programmed into my phone, don't answer it. Which is terrible from a sales perspective. But I basically use my voicemail as the call screener. Other folks use a receptionist as a call screener. I use AI as a call screener. But my point is, we have a good inborn sense of, hey, this is just a marketing message. This is a call. This is a sales call. And so we just don't pay attention, right? AI is going to ramp that up, and it's already ramping that up so high. We're just going to stop interacting with people, except for the people that we know and trust.
And the people they refer us to as people that they know and trust.
Refer to us. Yes.
Yes.
And there's also this idea that if you're a partner of mine, just say a friend, you're a friend of mine, we're social together, we give each other even a handshake or a high five, maybe a solid bro hug, if you will, at the event. But you continuously refer people to me that are not a good fit for me. They're kind of a waste of time for me, or God forbid, they're just an untrustworthy person. The people that you refer to me, it becomes a piece of how I judge you. Like I'm like, okay, this person doesn't have the social awareness to refer the right people to me. So while I will probably interact with them kindly, because being kind is free. Somebody said to me, being kind is free. So then what does it cost to be mean? Turns out that's also free, but you get to make that. You get to make that choice. But if you constantly refer to people that are not a good fit for me, then I'm writing down in my head, okay, either you don't understand me, or you don't have the social tact to know what fits me. Probably a little bit of a messaging problem on my part, but it could be a thing on your part. And so now my trust with you and the people that you refer drops. Right. And
correct. Meaning it can be the perfect candidate, but if they come into that meeting with you and you view them sus because Josh, and I won't use his last name, right, makes so many intros that it's hard to trust him, and vice versa, then almost kind of what's the point? Right. Now, if somebody makes intros for me and they're not high quality, then I'm willing to say, are you willing to learn and when I say high quality, we're all God's children. I just mean a relevant introduction for me.
Right.
And by the way, I don't think there's a lot of value for the other person in being kind and taking the coffee meeting with somebody. Because you know what? If you're not good for them, they're not good for you, you're probably not good for them. They need to spend that time answering an email or in another meeting with somebody else. Right. I get lots of introductions. I have a standard link right on a get to know you meeting. And occasionally somebody will reschedule. That's great. Life happens. Occasionally somebody will cancel, which is right next to the reschedule button.
Right.
Okay. I do not then send an email going, hey, did you want to rebook? If you've decided that that's going to be a low value conversation for you, then it's probably going to be a low value conversation for me. And I'm okay to let that go. Right. And so I think you need to loop back to the person that might be giving you low value introductions. Don't say low quality, low value introductions, and ask them, are they willing to learn to do it differently? And I've had people go, no, just tell me what sort of people you want to meet, and I'll make the intros. So they're all about quantity, not quality. They almost never get a reply because everybody knows that they're in the quantity, not quality, which means the trust factor is low. And I've had people. I said, look, this is the way I give and receive introductions. They're like, well, my system's different. I said, cool. We're either going to play ball my way or we're not going to play ball, which is fine. But I'm over here playing soccer and your expertise is baseball. You get to go play on a baseball field. But I'm over here playing soccer. And I will let a potential referral partner go if their system is dramatically different than mine.
Yeah. No, I love it. Daniel so we're kind of running out of time on the show here. I want to share something that Daniel does that I love. I thought I had it written up. Oh, there it is. Good. Ninja network building skills. So Daniel's point here is if you're about your business and when you've really clarified your ideal client and your ideal referral partners who are a gateway to your ideal clients, your job is to provide as much value as you possibly can to your ideal client. This is what your purpose in life is. This is what you do the best. When you stop wasting time on prospecting things that don't make sense because you have so many clients you need to just take care of, you need to start honing your skills about finding ideal referral partners and being the ideal key referral partner. Yep. So Daniel has a boot camp here that I've gone through. I think it's fantastic. I love everybody in his network. There's a couple of them, in fact, that are so much better at this than I am and so much more diligent about this. I get a little bit embarrassed when I get a referral from them. It's a community of folks that genuinely enjoy each other and push the ideal clients, ideal referral partners. They are ideal referral partners that push my ideal clients to me. They're amazing. Why don't you talk to us about what you're going to get in the Ninja Network Building Skills Bootcamp?
Well, okay, thanks. Well, the first thing I need to say is that a lot of the information is going to cross as fairly contrarian and maybe a little bit startling. But I will say this, I have data to back it up. It's not my opinion. It's not my philosophy. It's my position based on data. And for the record, a lot of what people out there doing today that does not produce the results they want are things that I used to do and used to think should work if I could just go more and more, faster, faster. Turns out when it wasn't working more and more, faster, faster, I started researching what does and doesn't work. But objectively, what you're trying to accomplish is learning how to ask the right question from the right person for the right introduction. So just briefly, Ninja Network Building Skills, 6 modules, spaced 2 weeks apart. So 12-week program, 6 modules, 2 weeks apart. Understanding the power of your current network, being more selective about who you let on your calendar, identifying those key referral partners, asking better questions in that first get to know you meeting, making sure you know how to help them and they know how to help you, because you can't help each other if you're not clear. Number 5, how do you write a good introduction? It's shorter than you think and more direct than you think.
Mm-hmm.
I am not interested in one that says, Drew's a good guy, Daniel's a good guy, y'all have a good time together. I already got more people that I can get onto my calendar for dinner at my house. I don't need good guys in my world. I need a reason to meet. And 6th, how do you get into a cadence of meeting with people consistently in order to give and receive introductions from those folks? And the output is that I show professionals how to achieve 100% or more, key concept, of their annual revenue on exclusively inbound introductions to ideal client profiles on less than 3 hours a month. Hear that, less than 3 hours a month, not a week. So that's the output.
Yeah. I love it. This is why I had Daniel on the show. Daniel, we're out of time. I'm going to give you the next 2 minutes just to talk to the audience, and then I'll wrap us up.
Well, I would absolutely invite people to use that gift of 25 minutes of my time. That is something normally I charge several $100s for. But I'm willing to do that because if you're part of Drew's audience, that's fine with me. There's no sales pitch in there. At the end, I'll say, there's more where that came from. Here's a link if you want to talk again. Right. But I'm absolutely happy to give you actionable value over those 25 minutes. Over the course of this today, I've made you go, I'm not sure he's right about that. But none of it was actionable. I will give you actionable material if you engage with me for those 25 with no sales pitch in it. But I do think we need to recognize that what most people are doing and calling networking is like going to the casino and pulling the slot machine handle. And it makes enough noise and the bells clang and you get a payday just often enough to make you think you're winning. But I can tell you categorically, you're losing. You are literally losing. You stay there long enough, you'll always come out, in the negative. But I can teach you how to be a card counter and how to use your time strategically and where to double down and when to leave it alone. And the best thing is you'll never get bounced from the casino because we're not inside a casino. But metaphorically speaking, I can show you how to be a card counter, not somebody pulling the slot machine handle. So
I love it. Listen, Daniel is being modest. I have paid for his services myself multiple times. Daniel's a fantastic professional at this. He will clarify for you so many things that you are kind of muddy about. Who is your key referral partner? How do you begin setting up those referral partnerships? He has a number of networks at different levels of the game where you can be a part of other key referral partners, meeting amazing people that are worthy of trust and who understand how to drive the right relationships for you. Get with Daniel. I currently use my current sales process, Daniel and I custom design. So if you're looking for somebody that's been a professional in the sales world forever, you need to tune that up. You make a substantial paycheck when you do a B2B business sales. Reach out to Daniel. Tell him you saw him on the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. He's got that free gift for you. It's in the comments already. With that, we are out.